Hello and welcome to Braden's Watch Reviews. My name's Braden and today I have in front of me the Invicta Pro Diver automatic watch. Now as a company, Invicta gets a lot of pushback from the watch community, and I think a lot of the hate they receive is kind of deserved. From their suspicious marketing strategy where they offer most of their watches at a permanent discount of 70 to 80%, to their stomach turning collabs that make me question whether anyone really does buy watches that look like that. But Invicta also has a lot to offer if you can get past some of those issues. For example, Invicta is actually one of the oldest watchmaking companies that is still around. They were created in the early 1800s and they were originally a Swiss company before being bought out by an American company during the quartz crisis in the late 70s and early 80s. Being a legacy brand, Invicta does have a lot to offer, including a fit and finish that you don't see in a lot of other watches in this price range. Another benefit to having an Invicta watch is their warranty. Invicta offers a 3-year warranty on all of their watches, and unlike many other brands you might buy from Amazon, you can actually use this warranty. If you reach out to Invicta with any problems, they will respond fairly quickly and try to remedy the issue. Now, I think I've kind of wasted enough time with this intro and this kind of boring history lessons, so without any further ado, let's get into the review. But first, let's play that intro. As I mentioned earlier, I got this watch off of Amazon.com, and I think I spent around $85 on it. As you can see, it came shipped in this nice diver-inspired case with 2 plastic clasps on either side. And now opening it up, we'll get our first look at the watch itself. Invicta offers a lot of different colors for this watch, but I decided to go with the classic Rolex green because I think it just feels a little more timeless to me. My version of the watch is the automatic, and it comes powered by the Seiko N35A movement, which is a very, very well-known and well-used, reliable movement. You can find it in a lot of cheaper automatic watches. However, if you're not interested in the automatic version, Invicta also offers a quartz version for about $50 on Amazon as well. And if you're interested in buying either version, I will have links to them down in the description below. Now, taking it off of its pillow, I am going to give you kind of a rundown of the specs. The case diameter of this watch is 40 millimeters with a lug width of 20 millimeters. That means if you're not into the metal bracelet that comes with the watch, you can switch it out for fairly easily for any other bracelet designs that you wish. The watch comes with a unidirectional 120 click bezel that feels fairly nice to use after you've got it broken in. It does have a little bit of back play, as you can see. The watch sports a claimed 200 meters of water resistance. I haven't gotten around to testing that myself, but given the 200 meters, I'm sure you'd be fine to shower or take this watch swimming with you. I would give you a word of warning if you're new to the watch community. It does have a screw down crown, and if you are going to get it wet, you do need to make sure the crown is screwed down all the way. I did notice a lot of complaints on the Amazon listing where people were saying it wasn't waterproof. But in there you could see that they left the crown partially open and unscrewed. Now, putting the watch on wrist, I would like to talk a little more about it. I've actually owned this watch for a couple of weeks now, and I can say I'm fairly pleased with the watch. Like I mentioned before, the build quality from Invicta watches is very good for the price point. It feels very solid and sturdy on wrist, and the metal band fits very well. I did have to remove 3 links, but that just means there's plenty of space for those of us with larger wrists. Now, I know some people aren't going to like the fact that it takes so many design cues from the Rolex Submariner, but as someone who's never going to get the chance to own such an expensive watch, I will say I like the timeless and classy design and look of this watch. Looking at the face, you can see that it does have a white date window at the 3 o'clock position, and the second hand has a very smooth sweep to it. The NH35A movement sports a 21,600 beat rate, which means that the second hand ticks at 6 times per second, giving it the sweeping movement. Now, another part of the watch that I personally really like, but I know some people are going to hate, is that winged counterweight to the second hand. I personally think it's small enough not to be intrusive while also adding a bit of elegance to the design. Taking it off the wrist now, I would like to talk about some of the gripes that I do have with this watch. The first and probably least important gripe is the amount of branding Invicta has decided to keep on this watch. If you're familiar with the Invicta brand, you know that they definitely want you to know what watch you're wearing. On this one, you have the logo and the name right up top. The logo once again placed on the second hand. The name placed on the side of the watch. And the name and logo placed at the bottom of the watch as well. Now, I know that may not seem like the biggest of deals to you, and if I'm being honest, it doesn't really bother me that much as well. But it does make the watch feel a little bit more tacky seeing all of the branding placed on it. Now, the second issue I have with the watch is a bit more pressing. The 120-degree bezel was very hard to turn the first time I got open the watch. I felt like there was some resistance. I don't know if it was dirt under the bezel or what, but it was so hard, in fact, that the first time to make a full rotation, I had to use both of my hands. Luckily, after using the watch for a couple of days and twisting that bezel, it did seem to free up a bit, where now you can comfortably spin it with only one hand. Turning the watch over now, we are greeted by an exhibition caseback that shows the NH35A movement in all of its glory. Now, this leads me to my third complaint with the watch, and this one, I will admit, is kind of silly. But I'm a little frustrated that I didn't get the iconic Invicta yellow rotor. I'm not sure if Invicta has stopped using that rotor to save money or if mine was just a fluke. But not having that rotor does make the exhibition caseback feel a little unnecessary, given that it is now just a plain unbranded NH35A movement inside the watch. While talking about the movement in the watch, I would like to mention how the watch has been running for me. Like I've said, I've owned the watch for a little over 2 weeks now, and it is running fairly well. With my estimates, I would say it's probably losing about 10 to 15 seconds per day. And for a watch straight out of the factory without any adjustments, I think that is more than acceptable. The watch does sport a claimed 48 hours of standby time, but in my experience, the watch has made it well past that as well. One time I waited over 3 days to put the watch on again, and when I grabbed it out of the box, there it was, still ticking away. The movement itself is really quiet, which I'm actually pretty surprised about, because with my research on this watch, I've heard that Invicta doesn't oil the movement quite as well as it should be. And that being said, a lot of people have complained about a bit of noise from the movement. However, in the entire time I've owned it and had it on wrist, I haven't heard or felt any binding or resistance with the ticking of the watch. The watch wears very nicely on my 7 1/4 inch wrist. It does sport a Rolex inspired clasp on the back there. I will say one thing that took a little getting used to with this watch is just how high it wears on the wrist. The domed exhibition case back on the back does make it sit a little bit higher than I am used to with my watches. Switching over to the lume shot now, the lume is honestly pretty disappointing in this watch. Given Invicta's history with making dive-style watches, I expected a lot more out of them. However, the lume is dull, not very bright, and does fade fairly quickly, only lasting about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so here are my final thoughts on the Invicta Pro Diver watch. Although it does struggle in a few areas like lume and bezel, overall I think it's a great watch for the price. If you're new to automatic watches or are just looking for a cheap watch to wear every day, then this is the watch for you. However, if you're looking for a watch that truly matches Rolex quality, then I would advise you to keep looking. If you've made it this far into the video, why don't you go ahead and give it a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe as well. This is my first video and I'm still trying to figure out how to do everything, but I do plan to post a lot more watch videos in the future. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching and we'll see you next time. See ya.